So the shutter here is cocked. It's in the cocked position. So if we press the release, that rack should travel back across and fire the shutter, but it doesn't. Let's see if that's cocked. I'll cock that manually. That is certainly cocked. If I press the release, oh, it's stiff. I'm rolling this back by hand. The shutter closes under a great deal of resistance. At this stage, the capping plate, the mirror should have come up. The capping plate comes up, hits this bar here, which allows this rack to move forward, and then the shutter can complete its action. So you saw the shutter did complete its action, but this mechanism is very, very stiff. With this off the camera, can we change anything? Our meter setting wheel, the meter setting wheel of course is coupled to nothing at this stage, but there is a problem. There's certainly a problem here because I can't swing these dials as I should be able to. So there's more problems here. I'll remove these 3 screws. Normally I would set that to be an f1.9. We're setting it to nothing because it's not moving. It may be that someone's had this off the front of the camera and they put it back in the wrong position. That's not especially sticky, or no worse than usual. Now these rings, what's going on here? Oh, that's just jammed solid. Someone's had this off, put it back in the wrong place, and it's all jammed solid. I've never seen one stuck as well as that. It may be just stuck with dried out glue, oils rather. It could be glue almost that's got in there, depending on what someone's done to it. This bronze ring should move freely on there, and it doesn't. Now, the teeth here look a little bit damaged, a bit chewed up. It may just be dust I'm seeing, but it's certainly a problem. Okay, so we've got a shutter that sort of functions. Front control rings have got some serious issue that needs to be dealt with. That's an example of how dirty everything is on this camera. Obviously I'm going to have a wee bit of a struggle with the leatherettes. I'll probably look for a new back for this camera, I think. I doubt I can get that leatherette off in order to remove the corrosion from underneath. Even if I could get the leatherette off, I doubt I'd get it off in one piece. So, this is a fairly unhappy example of a Retina Reflex S, and better when I don't see them looking like this, I'd say. Let's remove some more bits. So first we'll remove the release lever, and the spring on the bottom I'm interested in. It is present, still looks like it works. I'll take this catch off, this clip, and take out the lock lever. The lock lever's job is to lock the film advance when the frame reaches number 1. I want that rewind knob off. Just clip that mirror down into position so that it doesn't get damaged on the tabletop. Not that we're keeping that particular mirror because it's very, very ugly, but it's the general principle. Let's take the spring off this. Put that to one side carefully. I usually keep my springs together by themselves. I don't put them through the ultrasonic cleaner. I let them keep whatever oil they've got on them. See that green dot there? Now that's corrosion. Verdigris. Very unusual. Film advance. I want some more off this film advance. This screw here at the top is very badly chewed up. Someone has done bad things to that. I'll just hold that and undo that screw. So, I know various things about this camera now. I know that the mirror didn't get like that by itself. Someone had to do that. They had to reach their greasy finger in through the front of the camera and push that mirror down. And why they would want to do that is anyone's guess. We know that the front rings here are frozen, but we don't know exactly what the cause of that is. We know that the spring was missing from the base of the camera that operates the capping plate, so the capping plate can never have worked correctly. The only way for that spring to get out I suppose it's no, you couldn't get at it. I was thinking you could just about wriggle it out from here, but you can't get there unless the front's off the camera. So somebody must have had the leatherette off the base of the camera, the base plate off, and put it back there without the spring. The camera would have worked after a fashion. If you cocked it upside down, the capping plate would have latched into place, everything would have worked nicely. But you don't usually hold your camera upside down, so that was doomed to failure. Very interesting. Alright, more. Get this thing apart. I would like to make this back into a good going camera so it can go back across the ditch to Australia. I'll unhook the spring on the rewind button catch. So the camera has had some repair by Kodak a long time ago, and I would say that someone in much more recent times has had a go at it and made a mess of it. But I don't know how beautiful it was before the last repairer saw it. When a camera's been around a long time, various people would have had a go at it. Some more skilled than others. Alright, that's out. That's never been out in its life. That grease is really sticky. It's like tar. Ugh. Got much, oh, there's only a little bit left in here, let's get it out. Take out the sprocket shaft, the sprocket, One screw left here. Ah, yuck. The state of the grease in this is just amazing. It's just really nasty. I suppose it's old. When was this made? Probably about 1960. So yeah, it's pushing it a bit. Alright, I'll take that back door off, mostly because I think I'm going to replace the back door. The leatherette's completely shot. I'm hunting for a full set of leatherettes. So somewhere in my boxes of spare parts there will be a Reflex S organ donor looking for a chance to live on with in some other body. There we go. There's our chassis. I'm going to use this just because I'm being bloody minded about it. Realistically, I should probably look for an organ donor and rebuild the organ donor, but I want to make this one go. So my first task is to put these parts away in the degreaser and start cleaning this body up. Replace that mirror, find a spring for the base, free this up, pull the shutter apart, sort that out. That certainly needs to be serviced. Find out what's going on with this lens. We can have a look at that now. Just about done taking the rest of it apart. I can immediately see some scratch marks here and here where someone's had a tool on it and they've slipped. So someone's been into this lens before. Use a friction tool on here, which is just a rubber stopper. A toothpick is a great tool for unscrewing things with little holes in them like that. Lift out that. Let's lift this. 3 screws here hold the lens capsule into the lens body. Tip out the lens capsule, and that leaves us with our body. One of those levers moves smoothly, the other one does not move at all, which means that there is a mystery in here. And I want to find out what the answer is. It's the back off. Lay out my pieces. That's correct. That's correct. Why is that jammed? It certainly is jammed, it's going nowhere. Oh, I can see, I think I can see something down there. Let's lift that out. No. I think that's just completely gummed up with grease. These gears didn't want to counter-rotate, or they certainly didn't want to move. Alright, that's enough pulling apart for the moment. I've got to go and put those parts in and get them soaking, and then for an easy life, I don't know whether to start with the lens. Oh, that's very stiff. This little brass piece here, that's the cam visible in this slot at the back here, which would couple on a Retina 3S camera. That's very stiff. This is very, very stiff. It's very unusual, that, so something odd going on there. It may just be dried grease again. That can just glue things up, and it's certainly a possibility in this case. Anyway, I've got to go and put these pieces in the degreaser. I'm going nowhere. Time to start getting this old glue and corrosion and any remnants of leatherette off the body. So I'm scraping off all the dry solids, if you like, off with a scalpel. That white stuff is corrosion. That's corrosion on the aluminium casting. Now normally when you're gluing back leatherettes, you don't have great puddles of adhesive. You put the adhesive on the leatherette and a thin tacky layer, and you push it into place. Here you can see it's run right down inside here. That means it was very liquid when it went on, and there was no need to do that. If you put too much liquid adhesive on a camera in a position like that, effectively what you're asking for is trouble, because that adhesive can easily run through down gaps like that and glue up a piece of the mechanism on the inside, which would then mean, of course, that you were going to have to take it all apart again. There's quite a lot of glue here. It could easily be from 2 or 3 occasions when the camera has been taken apart in the past, and the technician has simply glued the leatherettes back over all the existing mess. Here you can see this stuff staining in here. That's where the adhesive has run down underneath the trim plate. Of course, there should never have been any adhesive down there. I'll just go and get rid of that. Alright, solvents and cleaning stuff. And normally, of course, with a camera like this, you've got to be very careful splashing any solvent about, You don't want anything splashing on the mirror because it leaves marks that then you've then got to try and deal with, which is typically on a front surface mirror means that you would have to replace the mirror. I'm just trying these solvents in turn to see if anything will just move that adhesive. That didn't really make much of a dent on it, so I'll try a bit of acetone. Can't say that's doing anything much either. So not acetone and not the CRC Electroclean. What about a bit of isopropyl alcohol? No, that's making no dent on it either. Alright, so those remaining patches of glue will have to be scraped off. These none of my solvents want to attack it. That patch of corrosion there can come off. Oh yeah. Oh, it's definitely two different types of adhesive there. With a job like this where you've got a camera with multiple serious, obvious problems, most of which were clearly induced by someone poking and prodding and pushing and buggering things up, you're always left wondering what the original problem was that caused them to have a go at fixing the camera in the first place. Most likely it was something mundane, like the shutter really needed to be serviced because of the usual problems with leaf blade shutters. Oily blades, build up of dust and dirt, things of that nature. Things that would have been fixed simply by a straightforward service. And instead, we're left with a variety of weird problems, like that mirror being pushed down out of position. Oh, it's really odd, that adhesive is very thick. That's corrosion. Corrosion of this type is normally associated with the camera having been stored somewhere damp. Perhaps from a single event like being caught in the rain and being left in its leather case damp for some time, that'll certainly do things like this. Or alternatively, it could have been a long-term problem from just happened to living in a country where the atmosphere is very humid, in which case you'd get much the same, except it would be happening over a much longer period of time. Well, I like to get these bodies nice and smooth and clean, back to clean looking metal, but to be honest with this, with the adhesive of various sorts and some underlying corrosion, I think that it's always going to be very dirty there. So I'm just going to clean it up the best I can. Here, this is where the film advance shaft is mounted at the base of the camera, and the lock and release levers both work in this position, as does the rewind button. So I've got to get all that dried grease and filth out of there. That looks a lot better. Inevitably, when you're dealing with a problem like this, trying to clean up something as messy as this, you end up doing everything twice, because as you move from one section to the other, you're disturbing stuff which then falls on the area you've already cleaned, and you're going to have to go back and do it again. That base plate looks doable, that's good. Top. Here we've got less corrosion and more graphite grease and accumulated dust and dirt. There's one thing this grease is good at, is catching any passing dust and grit. It's really going nowhere. Alright, I'll blow the loose dust out of that cavity. in the back of the camera. I'll get rid of this dirty piece of paper and we'll start afresh. Alright, I'm starting to see some camera underneath the dirt now. A bit more. This is where the transfer shaft or cam runs across, and I'm just making sure that's all nice and clean. Just cleaning the inside surface of the mirror box here, or the body cavity. Just because there's a lot of dust lying around, a lot of it that I've just generated cleaning the outside of the camera, of course, or getting rid of all that stuff. I want that to look nice and clean. Then I'll get this back. Get this capping plate down in place. Of course it doesn't want to stay latched in place because it's missing the spring that does the latching, or it doesn't want to fall into place. That's better. It'd be nice if I could just drop this into a big ultrasonic cleaner for it to come back out new and shiny and looking like I bought one. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. Just cleaning in all the cavities around the bodywork here to make sure I remove any loose dust and dirt, because I don't want it reappearing at a later date and settling somewhere more important. Very greasy in the bottom of the take-up spool cavity there. That's quite normal, of course. That's where the advanced shaft runs through there. Tends to wick up a little bit of grease and oil. And it also is where all the film chips tend to gather. And film chips are the little pieces of film between the sprocket holes on 35mm film. They get torn loose and then they become a chip. And you wouldn't think they could do much damage, but all it takes is one of those film chips to find its way to somewhere unfortunate in your camera, typically the shutter, and they can jam it up and render the entire camera useless. So it's creating film chips is something that's well worth avoiding. And you do that by taking care when you're loading films and unloading them, and particularly rewinding. Don't start rewinding the film without having first I'm just checking the action of this mirror here to make sure it's snappy enough, because we know that it's been forced down past its usual rest position. Now on later cameras there was another stop in here which would have stopped that mirror from being able to move down that far. It came out here somewhere. Yeah, you see some variation in this mechanism here that latches things down. Oh, that spring. I can see that spring there is not tucked down in position correctly. That's why it's a bit lackluster. Right, let's see if I can get that pulled down into position. That's a interesting problem. That's better. That's far more positive now. Okay, that's good. Well, we know that mirror's got to be replaced. So I've got to get that loose on its tray and pull that thing out, I think. And I've got to find another one. This is just too heavily scarred up. It's certainly fungus, that growth on there. So one of my cameras will be becoming an organ donor. Just scraping around more of the edges here, removing corrosion and old adhesive. Everything's clean and dry now, so dust will just blow away. That looks good. Now that spring, I want to take that off because it's easily lost. This one is already damaged, it's been bent. And I want to see if I can, I don't know whether you can even see that spring. Yeah, it's a bit out of shape. Hardly shows at all. It's a very fine spring. It's out of shape and certainly needs to be trued up to look something more useful, so I'll pop that carefully to one side. Very easy to lose that spring. I can generally find them again. I usually don't find them on the day. I find them a day or two later after I've fitted a replacement. But it's certainly the case. Alright, so the body looks reasonable. There's a bright spot here, like something's scratched on it. That's like somebody's been poking in with a tool. That's no serious issue. So I've got to find a mirror for this. I want to find a back with some decent leatherette, because the leatherette on the existing back is very bad. I don't think it'll come off in one piece. My alternative is I probably have a piece of leatherette. I could just replace the leatherette, but if I've got a whole back, then I'll put the whole back on. This one's got a corrosion spot here, verdigris. So it's by no means the prettiest anyway. Right, see if I can find a back, find a mirror, move forward.